With sports photography, there's a lot of things you need to think about when it comes to cameras, lenses, and even the bigger lenses out there. But there's also some other things besides your tech and your gear that go into sports photography, and there are things that make your life a lot easier while doing it. So I put together a pile of them to talk about and discuss with you guys today. You might have some of these already, but they're always good to think about to make your life easier. The first thing I want to talk about is having a good bucket hat. Now, besides having 360 degrees of sun protection and shade, especially on a hot summer day, this has one big importance for why I like to have it while I'm shooting. So, as I like to wear, I have big flat brim hats, or you might have a baseball cap that curves in a bit, or you might have an assortment of hats that you normally like to wear on any given day. Now, the issue is, let's see if the hat forward, you're trying to make sure that the sun's not in your eyes while you're out shooting. You're shooting horizontally, doing fine, and then you want to go to take a quick portrait. When you go to turn your camera up, you're going to realize that your camera hits your hat in your head, and then you're constantly going to be fidgeting with your hat all day if you're trying to take shots horizontally and then vertically and back and forth. So why I like the bucket hat a lot is it's floppy. So besides having the protection from the sun, I can turn it into photo mode. So I can easily just flop this up real quick, take my verticals, bring my camera down, and go back into having shade in front of my eyes. I can bring it back up, be shooting fine, bring my camera down, flip this back up, shoot a vertical, and then it's super easy. I'm not constantly fidgeting with my hat, trying to make sure that I can get it back on my head every single time I bring my camera up to my face. The second thing I want to talk about, there's two of them, or a set. Knee pads or knee sleeves, or just something to protect your knees. Because what you'll find is some fields or some locations, you want to be low to the ground when you're shooting, so you're going to be on your butt or on your knees. Now the problem is sometimes you're on turf, which not only gets really hot during the summer, but can also get super uncomfortable when your knees pressed into turf all day. Or maybe you could be on track or gravel or just something that's not comfortable to be taking a knee on for 2 to 3 hours while you're shooting your sports event. So getting some knee sleeves and just slapping these on your knee before the game will protect your knees and keep you a lot more comfortable as you're trying to shoot your event. For number 3, to keep it in the realm of clothing, I'm talking specifically about a pair of sweat shorts and a pair of sweat pants. Now what makes these special, they're not just any, is that they're cargo sweat shorts and cargo sweat pants. So what I mean by that is, it's a pair of shorts, you got your 2 regular pockets, and then also on the side, I've got 2 zipper pockets, which make life a lot easier. So what I mean by that is, I can keep batteries in here, I can throw my lens caps in here, I can keep a little cloth in here if I need to clean my camera off for whatever reason. It just allows you to carry a little bit more. And the important aspect is that there's zipper pockets. So when I sit down, I stand up, I'm running around the sports field, or even a court if I'm inside, nothing's gonna fall out of my pockets that I don't want to because they're zipped up. Now, regular cargo pants and cargo shorts could work with this, but your sweat variety will most likely be a little more stylish and a little bit easier to move and bend in when you're getting up and down doing whatever sport shot you're trying to get. Number 4 on my list, it's not just a pile of leather and chains, it is a camera harness, a 2 camera harness that you can throw on so that way you can keep both your cameras engaged at a time, or if you're carrying around 3 cameras, you can have 2 at the hip and 1 on your hand on a monopod. So there's a bunch of these out there. This is the Choreo, a leather 2 camera strap. I got it off of Amazon. Now some specific details. I do have mine duct taped because these are attached like belts in the back. If you're not paying attention, they can come undone. And I've had my cameras fall off the camera strap because the buckle has just gone through. So what I've done is I've duct taped the straps to the height I want them at for my height. So that way they can't come undone and my camera's not gonna fall off my belt loop as I'm running around trying to get shots. So as a little bonus item, this little case I have strapped on my camera strapped, is a little headphone or ear protection case. So when I was shooting music and I was talking to a musician about what to do, because a lot of times when you're in the pit, you're standing grounded from the speakers. So he recommended a brand called Eargasm earplugs. And they're very awesome because you can easily just keep them in the case, put them in your ear. And what I really like about these is that even when they're in your ear and they're protecting your ear from very high-end damaging sounds, it's still easy to have a conversation with someone next to you. Now they'll be a little muffled, but you can still fully understand what they're saying to you while these guys are in your ear. So I always just keep these on my camera strap because honestly, 10 times out of 10, if I'm doing a concert, I've got my harness with me and I'm gonna make sure that my earplugs are always attached to my harness. Next on my list has been an ultimate lifesaver while living in a hot state and shooting sports outside, and it is the water bottle backpack. Or some people just refer to Camelback as the main brand. When I was doing reviews, I found this one by Osprey, which I really loved. But why I got this was because after a few hours of being outside shooting sports, I'd get really thirsty, and I might not have the room to put a bunch of water bottles in my pocket or carry them around or be able to access when my bag is, especially if you're shooting football in a football stadium. Maybe the media room could be a 15-minute trip just to go get some water. If you double that, you're spending about 20 to 30 minutes just going to get water. So a 2.5 liter water bottle backpack can be a tremendous difference when it's 100 degrees outside or wherever you are and it's hot. You need a fresh resipping sip of water right over your shoulder. This 2.5 liter water bottle backpack is about 8 water bottles worth of water. So over the course of 2 to 3 hours, you can probably go through a good amount of that, but it's been very helpful when I'm trying to stay cool and hydrated. I don't have to worry about losing half an hour to just go recover when I could be out getting more shots. Now this one feels like a no-brainer, a mesh bag. But actually what's inside here is a lot more helpful. And what this is a rain cover for my camera. So as you know, a lot of sports out there play in the rain or shine, or a lot of times even snow, or whatever the elements are throwing at the players. So a lot of times you don't want to be that person that has to go home because their camera might get wet or damaged or dirty, and you don't have anything to protect it. So I've got a Think Tank hydrophobic water cover that I can shove my camera in, and now this case is specifically for anything between a 70 to 200 or a 100 to 400, because most of the time those are the most common lenses I'd be using if I'm shooting action during a game. So this is always good to just have in your car, in your bag if you can have space for it, or just check the weather and make sure to grab it, because nothing is worse than having to leave an event early because you can't protect your camera from the elements. I promise you guys you'll cherish these next ones. It's because they're chairs. So these are 2 different kinds of chairs. This is a standard backpacking camping chair that's small, compact, and I can set it up outside. Now, why would I want a chair from at a sporting event when I need to be moving around, getting different shots and angles? There are some sports where if you've got the 400 and you're trying to get a shot of an individual player moving up and down the field. For example, soccer is a good example of a sport where there's a lot of back and forth movement. You don't have the predictability of, like, let's say football, when you know which direction a team is going. Soccer, the ball could be on one side of the field for the majority of the game, depending on the talent level of the teams playing. And sometimes your soccer field could be in the middle of a track, and you might not be able to sit on the field because refs are running back and forth. It's where the teams are. So having a chair that you can set up outside of the track and not be on anyone's way, and being able to camp with your 400, and then you move every 10 to 15 minutes. So having a lightweight chair that you can set up is always great to have in your car if you need it. Now this other one is a floatable lay flat chair. Now this is really meant for your indoor sports, so specifically basketball in a sense. When you're sitting on the end line for the entire half and you don't want to destroy your back, you can lean into this and not really have to worry about your back hurting the next morning. What I've also found is if you throw your name on this, you can throw it down on the court, and it kind of serves as a placeholder that this is going to change depending on what court you're shooting at, what level you're shooting at. But this is a good way of kind of marking your territory for important spots in basketball if there's multiple people at an event trying to cover it. Last but not least is the Monopod. Now this is super helpful when it comes to carrying a third camera or your heavier camera if you're not able to carry it physically all day. Or let's say you got 3 cameras on you, you got one on your left, one on your right on your double camera strap. Monopod's really great for carrying around your third camera, especially your biggest camera. Now, one thing the Monopod also helps with is keeping your camera stable as you're swiveling back and forth. Now, you might be super strong and you might be able to just hold a camera and a 400 all day long and not have any fatigue whatsoever. But after a 3-hour event, your arms might be a little bit tired, and as you pan from left to right, you might notice your camera going up and down because of how tired your arms are, or when you're trying to track it, you might naturally go up high and start down low, or start low and end up high as you're going from left to right. So what the monopod allows you to do is you can zoom into your lens. Usually that's the best place to put it, so it keeps your camera nice and balanced. Just give me a sec to hold this in. So then when your camera is in front of you, when you're going from left to right, trying to track a player, you can easily just spin the monopod and your camera stays level the whole time without having to worry about it shaking up and down. So that's where a monopod can be super helpful. I hope going over those items allows you guys to think a little bit more about what you might want to add and even wear to your next sporting event where you're gonna be taking photos and working long days. And depending on what environment you might be in, it might be helpful to add some of them or think about them before you go into your event. But as always, if you have any questions, comments, or you want to add to the list, feel free to add it down below. I'll leave some links to some of the stuff that I talked about in this video. But as always, let's recap.